It's our birthday. How about that? It's our birthday. Isn't that kind of neat? Isn't that kind of neat? It's our birthday. Welcome in, everybody. 3 guys before the game. If we were like a human being, we'd be in first grade right now. 6 years old. On this date, in 3 guys before the game history, we launched this podcast. And that was 482 episodes ago, because this is episode 483, and this is our Penn State preview with the Senator, Brad Howe, who has not changed a bit in the course of 6 years that have gone by. All you have to do is go back and take a look at some of our YouTube videos there, from some of the early ones. That little facial hair that you've grown.
Shows you how much I've aged doing this stupid podcast. It's like dog years.
Yeah, remind me. I want to get to some numbers about what the show has done in the course of 6 years. We changed our podcast host maybe a year or so into it, maybe a couple of years into it, and so we lost those downloads. So with the current host, we're at 2.3 million downloads. I think we're probably, if you were to go back to the company that we used first, Podomatic, I think it was, I think we're 3 million. I would think we're 3 million. I mean, that based upon the numbers, that's probably it.
Overall.
That's
just audio downloads.
Just audio. That doesn't even include the video. So here we go. Thanks, everybody. We're going to get into it. 3 guys before the game. Brought to us by the Burdette Camping Center. They happen to be the only dealer in the state of West Virginia that offers you a warranty that lasts forever on everything that they sell, whether that's a fifth wheel, whether that's a trailer, you name it, they've got it, the whole deal. The warranty lasts forever. What more could you want? And right now I got something more that you could want. How about $3,000 under the invoice, $3,000 under the invoice on all of their 2022 fifth wheels. Check them out. BurdetteCamping.com. 3 guys also brought to us by the Comax Business Systems, folks, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. The Avalon Pontoon series that they sell, considered the best in the United States, and they're the premier pontoon boat dealer here in the state of West Virginia. Visit them physically in St. Albans or on their website at LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com. I think, haven't confirmed this yet, we've been so busy with game week that is the same. The folks at Lou Wendell are the same people that sell the boats that the James Bond production people use when they film those James Bond movies, when he's kind of through the water and doing all that stuff. Same folks. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com. And, of course, the good folks at Go-Mart stopped in one yesterday in Nettie.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Right at the turn.
Sure.
Before you get 39 and you go down into Nettie, Charmco, Levacy, Quinwood. Went all the way down there yesterday. Anyway, at Go-Mart, get yourself a rewards card. Save on your gas. Save on all your food items at Go-Mart. All you have to do is go to the website, gomart.com. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something for Halloween, because they had that cryptid thing in the summer that went with tremendous success.
Yeah.
So
do you think a Halloween promotion's coming?
Wouldn't surprise me at all. By the way, had a conversation this morning with Bob, owner of Comax.
Sure.
And I did not realize this, but next month, 3rd week of September, they have an annual golf tournament, 19th year. And they raise dollars for Make-A-Wish in about a 10-county area down in the Charleston, Kanawha Valley area for the Make-A-Wish program. And they'll do about $25,000 that day to donate to Make-A-Wish, which is awesome.
Awesome, yep.
So I said, well, do you need golfers? We can get on 3 guys here. And he said, we're sold out with golfers. However, you can purchase a hole.
Sure. Whole sponsorship available.
Whole sponsorship. Only cost $150.
Okay, good. Goes to Make-A-Wish.
Goes to Make-A-Wish, $150. So if you would like to donate, if you're a business, or even if you're not a business, you want to be a whole sponsor for $150, you can just go to their website, comaxwv.com, click on that. They got the information for you. That would be a great thing if you could help out those guys doing wonderful work for Make-A-Wish. So, on our episode today, my goodness, the text line has been very, very busy. So we're going to try to get to as many as we can. People have questions, people have comments, a bunch of stuff. But of course, since we go into this first game of the season, we are going to break down some of the numbers, key numbers. And I know this is kind of hard for you, Senator, because you will always tell us that you need a base to really make the numbers more accurate. And so when you start a season, you're kind of going off of, last season, right, and personnel changes. But for the most part, you can get an idea as to what a team likes to do. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's been on summer hiatus, but it's coming back. It's the second most popular tune in the 6-year history of Three Guys Before the Game. And I almost went into Casey Kasem there. It comes once again from our producer, music extraordinaire, David Saab. Hit it, baby. It's Spreads on Stats.
So I check the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater. Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show. Ready? 5, 4.
I missed this song.
Saab does a nice job. Mix that up nicely.
Tremendous. By the way,
in luck factor.
you remember 3 episodes ago, someone asked what the actual lyrics were for Textual Healing?
Yeah.
A couple people wrote them in, and I need to get that.
They've got them?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I need to get that.
The over-under number is set. Senator.
You ready to do this?
Yeah.
By the way, I screwed something else up. Did I say, how many things have I screwed up so far?
Well,
today?
I don't think any, have you?
Well, so there's a dude, I think he's in Fairmont, and he wanted to sponsor Spreads on Stats.
Okay.
And he sent me an email, and then I was going to deal with it, and then I never dealt with it. Now I can't find it.
And you lost it.
So if you're the
so
guy...
we tell people you can sponsor the program, parts of the program. Somebody wanted to, and you lost the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you're the Fairmont accountant, call me or text me. Do something. I won't lose it this time. All right. How good are these numbers?
So here's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it different today than we've done it, and doing it different today than we'll do moving forward when we have some more numbers.
So this is a one-off Spreads on Stats.
Maybe a one-off, maybe a two-off. We'll have to see how it goes. What I'm focusing on here, and listen, we could spend this whole episode plus a couple others talking about different keys to this game, because there's a ton of them with all of those unknowns you mentioned. But I'm going to run through a couple that I think are important, that we've put some numbers to, that I think would interest some people or surprise some people at the very least. So we know West Virginia has to win the turnover battle, so I'm not going to go into that. We've been through that. West Virginia struggled in that area last year. Didn't have a lot of interceptions. They've got to increase both of those, both turnover margin and the interceptions they come up with. But I want to focus in on Garrett Green for a second, the quarterback position, because it's just a massive key to not only Saturday's game, but the entire season. We've gone through some numbers with him already, but here's a couple. You ready? A couple that we haven't talked about. I try to do different keys.
You're talking about in his West Virginia career.
Well, just bear with me here.
All right.
One of the things I think Garrett needs to do, I've mentioned how don't turn it over is critical. And there were a bunch of turnover-worthy plays last year as he came in that small sample size trying to make things happen. You could see why turnovers developed, because he was pressing to try and make things happen, and many times did. But he's got to cut down on that. But here's another key. He really just needs to make the throws that are there in this offense, right? He sat right in this chair and said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I've got to be able to throw the ball if the other team forces us to throw the ball to win. So he knows that. He knows he's got to make the throws that become available. Make the easy throws easy. Don't make the easy throws hard. Last year, Garrett's completion percentage was only 55%. That was the lowest in the Big 12 among quarterbacks that played in at least half the games. What do quarterback coaches usually say? Get that thing to 60 a minimum?
Minimum.
65 would be even better.
Yes.
So a 10% jump may be a lot, but get Garrett up into the 60s. Now, he needs some help from the receivers. That's a quarterback stat, but that's far from being all on the quarterback. Line's got to give him some time, and those receivers have to catch it. But when he is on the run or rolls out or he's got an open receiver, start there. Make the easy throws. That's number one. You with me on that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, number two. The Penn State defense is really talented. We've talked about that all night. But chances are pretty good they're going to be aggressive on Saturday night as well. So this sets up what I think, this is the matchup I'm most interested in watching. This talented Penn State defense against the West Virginia offensive line. Last year, Penn State had the number one graded pass rush per PFF in the Big Ten. Not a surprise. But how about this? Chop Robinson had the second best individual pass rush grade in the Big Ten. Linebacker Abdul Carter had the fifth best pass rush grade among linebackers. And Jair Brown had the best pass rush grade among safeties in the Big Ten, all three levels. Now, Brown's moved on. We talked with Steve about that early in the week. Brown's moved on, but those numbers also show us Manny Diaz is going to bring pressure from every single level. Normally, when you're going against a team with a great pass rush, we identify one guy that you've got to handle, right? Felix Anaduke from Kansas State, Will McDonald from an Iowa State. There's been guys. West Virginia sees those all the time in the Big 12. This team is giving you two elite with Chop Robinson and Abdul Carter, and will probably bring somebody from the safety side when they blitz as well. How well can West Virginia do in standing up to that? So that's a big question. West Virginia was in the middle of the pack last year in the Big 12 when it came to pass blocking efficiency. That's got to increase a little bit this year. They need to be better, and I think you're helped a little bit by Green's ability to move. That's something you haven't had. Last year, JT Daniels had the second highest rate in the Big 12 among quarterbacks that played in half their games of pressure ending up in a sack. So let me say that again. Second highest rate in the Big 12 of when pressured, that didn't just turn into pressure, it turned into a sack.
He couldn't get out of the way.
That would make some sense, right? Garrett should be able to help with that. He was ninth, Green was, in the Big 12 overall. The only returning quarterbacks with a better percentage that played in at least half the games, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, and both of the Kansas quarterbacks. So
you
Green
said Garrett was ninth?
Was ninth overall of all the quarterbacks, not just out of teams. So it's not out of 10. That's out of every quarterback. He was ninth. So he showed an ability, even when there's pressure, it didn't necessarily turn into a sack. Again, that's one of those numbers that backs up what your eyes have seen. That would make some sense.
Correct. And let's talk a little bit more about this point that you're making. And that is, we can sit here and say that West Virginia should have a good offensive line this season. Potentially, on some days, it could be a very good offensive line. But it really doesn't matter in this situation. And by that, I mean there needs to be more than 5 guys that provide pass protection. Because at any stroke, Manny Diaz can say, well, guess what? We're not going to bring 5. We're going to bring 7. Now it comes to how well can West Virginia's backs protect? How well can West Virginia's receivers potentially pass block? How well can newcomer Luke Hamilton, who in all likelihood will be used as a guy in the backfield as pass protection? Those are really the guys that you're going to have to depend upon so that Garrett Green doesn't play the game on his back.
Couple things. Let's hope he has to bring more than 5 at times, because that means they're not getting pressure with just their up-front guys, so that would be good. Number 2, I'll give you another key. Those receivers have to get off the line. Mm-hmm. In West Virginia's blowout losses last year to Tech and Texas, what was the biggest problem? You can name a bunch of things, but one of them was the receivers couldn't get open. So then you had nowhere to go with the ball, and it all dragged down. I thought Coach Hunter made a good point last night on Sportsline. We were kind of talking about something similar to this, and he mentioned if this offensive line is able to handle people up front, then maybe that frees up the tight ends a little more to become the pass catchers we think Cole Taylor has a chance to be. The past couple of years, those tight ends have had to stay in and provide additional help to the offensive line over Neil Brown's first 3 years. Last year, that got a little better. But hopefully those guys can get freed up to get out into the pass routes a little more frequently. All right, now let's flip over to the other side. Here's something to watch when West Virginia's on defense. We know Penn State returns a lot of experience along the offensive line, but that group still has some questions to answer in terms of what is their ceiling, what's their ability to improve from last year. They already got a bit of bad news yesterday that came out officially. Their left guard, Tangwell, is announcing he's medically retiring, so he will not be in the game. He was projected left guard starter, so that's already a significant ding to them. So we've talked about left tackle Olu Fashanu. Am I saying that right? Olu Fashanu. He's a pro, probably be a top 10 pick. He's going to be really good. It's the rest of the guys that you have some questions about. So a new starting left guard will be inserted. And then additionally, the center, the right guard, and the right tackle all had grades last season in the 50s, which isn't great. So there's some questions about that line, even though they're experienced. How good are they? Last year, they were outside the top 100 in opportunity rate. So there's, 130 roughly Division I teams. Penn State was 106th in opportunity rate, which is the percentage of carries that gain at least 4 yards. That's a surprising number given those running backs that you have there.
Say that again.
Penn State was 106th nationally in opportunity rate, the percentage of a team's carries that gain at least 4 yards.
So they had a lot of big runs, right? We've been talking about Singleton and his ability to pop long runs, and the same thing with Katron Allen as well. So they'll big play you more than they will mulch you.
So that's something to watch, right? And there's questions about West Virginia's defensive line. We've heard from the coaches all summer here. They're going to play 10 guys. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be able to play? But you're going against an offensive line. Who has success within that? That's a spot. And again, I'm nitpicking over a top 10 team in Penn State who should be very good. But that's an area that some people have some questions about along that offensive line. So keep an eye on that. All right, one against the spread number here we'll go into. West Virginia, when it's a double-digit dog in its last 4 games, has covered each of those games.
Locations, home or away?
All on the road.
Say it again.
West Virginia's covered its last 4 games as a double-digit dog, all on the road. That's since 2019. Okay? They're 2-2 straight up in those games.
Oh, really?
Now, none of them have been as large as this, but there's been an 18 in there, a 14 in there. So 2-2 straight up, 4-0 against the spread as a double-digit underdog. Here's what's interesting. The average points West Virginia scored in each of those games, 17.75, just under 18 points a game. They've given up just 17.5 points per game. So they have a positive point differential in those 4 games as a double-digit dog. All of them hit the under by an average of more than 2 touchdowns per game, an average of 15 points below what the number is. This total, as you would expect, has dropped from 53.5 down to 50.5, so the under money is coming in on this for 2 teams that are going to want to run the football.
Was one of those 4 games the close one at Oklahoma?
Yes.
What was the line in that?
I don't remember that one. 13.5 maybe?
Oh, is it?
I'm going off memory, so don't hold me to that. So anyway, there's if you're looking for a positive spin on the number, if you can keep it close, the recent history shows you that West Virginia's been able to do that.
So with what you've studied and the numbers that you have parsed or ciphered, what's the biggest statistical category that West Virginia is the absolute must among a bunch of musts?
If I eliminate turnovers, because I think that's too easy, the second one is easy also. It's running the ball. How close to 200 yards rushing can you get? Penn State did not give up many big rushing games last year. The outlier was Michigan. Michigan went for 4 bills on them. That was the unusual one. Minnesota didn't get to 200. There's some good rushing teams they face. Utah didn't get to 200 against them. So some teams with good lines, good rushing attacks that wanted to run the football that did not get to 200. So West Virginia's got to do it for a couple of reasons, and one of them's part of the upset playbook, page 1, is you've got to control the ball. With West Virginia's skill set that it has, with that line and those backs and a mobile quarterback, it stands to reason they've got to run the football. Here's the other part of that. If your goal is to shorten the game, which I think that has to be a primary goal for West Virginia when you're out-talented
100%.
Like you are, the new rules may help you. You know, this running clock on first down, it didn't have a real overall effect on the games in week 0 in terms of time. The games were like 3 minutes shorter. In terms of plays run, each team ran an average of 5 or 6 plays less, so really negligible on all that. But here's where I think it's different. If you have a team like West Virginia that finds success running it, that wants the game to slow down, that wants there to be fewer possessions, you can bleed some more clock here.
Yes.
Because that thing's going to run. So if that fits into what you want to do, I think it turns into an advantage. All things being equal, I don't know that it's going to change the game very much. Teams that want to go fast are still going to go fast, and it may not affect you. But if you're a running team that has success, that wants it to be slowed down, I think you can gain some minutes of time of possession by just slowing yourself down.
100% agree with you. To your point regarding running the ball for 150 yards, okay? If you were going to go there on Saturday night and try to do that with past West Virginia quarterbacks, and the opposing team knew that you did not have a quarterback that could really threaten you in running the ball, guess what? You weren't going to run for 150 yards because they were just going to outnumber you. Garrett Green is that one possibility of giving you the opportunity to run the ball, because realistically, he could produce 50 to 75 yards in the you shut your microphone off.
I don't know why you do that all the time.
50 to, you know what, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'd like you to go back, watch the tape, kind of like they do the replay monitor. Come in, watch the tape, and see if my hand reached at any point, because he shut his mic off, because he does a bunch of stuff over there. He gets a little bit like Kirchville. Like Kirchville has to go to the lip balm. Brad, like he's like a baseball guy. He's got to get 3 indicators, shuts his mic off, and then he forgets. Anyway.
I think you shut it off while you weren't on camera.
See, I think Garrett needs to get you that 50, 75, 80. Hit a big play in which he gets 30 yards, 35 yards. It will be invaluable to trying to get to that number you're talking about. If you're not going to get that, it ain't happening.
Yeah, no question. All right, real quick, last thing, we'll move on from numbers, to go back over opponents last year that ran for 100 or more yards against Penn State. Ohio did it early, right at 100 yards.
That's the Bobcats.
Yes.
Not the Buckeyes.
Auburn went for 119. Michigan went for 418. That was the big outlier.
Yeah.
Then you have Minnesota at 165, and that's a team that lines up and wants to run it.
Yeah.
And then Utah wants to do the same thing. They went for 184.
Did they?
That's it. Those are the only teams that got over 100. And if West Virginia lands at 100, that's not going to be a pretty night. They've got to get well north of that to go in. So you're really talking about Michigan at 418, that was an elite running team. You're talking about Minnesota that likes to do it and was good at 165, and Utah at 184. So where's West Virginia fit in that comparison?
Yeah, and they won that game, the Rose Bowl, against Utah, and offensively they hit some big plays. They had an 80-yard touchdown run in that game, and so those are good indicators. Garrett Green, plain and simple. It's going to how he handles it, both plus and minus, will ultimately determine the outcome of this game. This is not one of those games where you say, well, whomever the quarterback is, they just have to be a game manager. Like, how many times are we talking a game man? Just has to manage the game. Don't have to win the game. You don't have to win the game. I'm not saying Garrett has to win the game. I'm saying Garrett's play will ultimately decide whether or not West Virginia wins, because he either is going to turn it over, and that will cause a cavalcade of problems that will cost you, or he's going to make positive plays that, because he made those plays, that's why you're in the game to win the game.
Totally agree. I think there's a lot of important keys. He's just massive. James Franklin came out this week and said for Drew Aller, he does need to be a game manager. He said that's all he needs to do. We don't need to put a lot on him. We've got a great defense. We've got 2 talented running backs. We don't need Drew Aller to win the game. Literally said just need him to manage the game. Mm-hmm. I'm with you on the Garrett Green side. He's going to have to make plays. That's what he's in there for. That's what he does. You saw that at times last year. Now you need the consistency and the production here in Game 1.
I'm intrigued. I'm interested to watch West Virginia's offense. I think they're doing a lot of neat stuff. They got stuff that looks neat, different, neat stuff. So I'm interested to see that. You have anything else for the good of the order?
No, that was a little longer segment than it may be when we get in, but we had to get a bunch of numbers out there.
So what's going to change going forward? You said like this will be the one thing.
Well, sometimes I'll be able, as we get deeper into the season and those stats start to normalize themselves, we'll be able to get West Virginia's offensive line against the other team's defensive line and some of those opportunity rate and stuff rate numbers. I'll bring some of those to the table. Havoc rates.
You think this could be a whole new season for you, new year for you, even more significant than you've won in the past? Are you better than you were a year ago?
I would hope so.
Don Nealon used to say, hey, You get worse, you get better, you never stay the same. What do you think? What are you trending toward?
Well, that's for the listeners to decide.
I understand. Where are you feeling?
Feeling good.
All right, let's do this thing then. There's one of our big upgrades in the course of 6 years, a textual healing graphic. Man, that cost us a ton of money.
You think that's better than the rotary phone that was there before?
Might be a little bit better, yeah. Traditionalists probably still want the rotary phone on there.
Probably.
Yeah. Textual healing brought to us by episode800.com. Check out the website, episode800, episode800.com. We have all of our merchandise for Three Guys Before the Game, including coffee. Got a great selection of hats, shirts. Got the Efforting t-shirt, which is just jumping off the racks.
Popped here in the last week and a half.
It really has. And I haven't checked it today, but I think we also have 12 volt battery charger and a I think like frozen king crab legs. I think you can just order those. They'll dry ice those in.
That's unconfirmed.
I'll have to go look. So they're supposed to put those on.
I'm wearing one of those nice Daniels Three Guys pieces. Those will be on the site soon.
Is that the Millar?
Yeah, Peter Millar.
Peter Millar. Very, very nice. Episode800.com. Check it out. That is a nice one. You guys ready? You ready to do this?
Yeah.
You guys. I said you guys like he's here.
Well, he's in spirit.
In absentia.
Is he coming back?
He'll be here next Thursday for the preview for Duquesne.
Do we know that?
Yeah.
Or is he just going to just say, well, it's kind of nice to not be there on that stupid podcast?
I was listening to his show that he doesn't do anymore, and the guy on that radio there, that Dave Wilson, he said Hoppy's going to be back next Wednesday, so I'm figuring he could probably make his way in here next Thursday.
I don't know. That might be unconfirmed as well.
Yeah. Normally on this program, when we do receive food, we eat it right on set. But we were so hungry before we started to record today, we jumped in. And these were the dudes from the Chimney Shack over there in Star City, voted the best food truck in West Virginia in 20 and 22. Best food truck in West Virginia. So these guys are open in Star City now, where the hot dog place used to be, and they make these chimichangas. And they brought us 3. They brought us the, am I going to say this right? Barbacoa, slow braised beef and cheese. They brought us the Stray Cat, which is the name of their place. It's the Stray Cat Chimney Shack. Shredded chicken and cheese. And then they brought us pepperoni roll, which is sauce, cheese. And, wow. Couple thoughts. Extremely tasty.
Excellent.
Extremely tasty. However, you would probably have to be Joey Chestnut to eat more than one because they are loaded and they are filling.
They did not go cheap on the amount that is inside the fried shell around it. Very, very good. Took a little sample of each.
Yeah.
Proud of both of us. We just took a sample of each, didn't eat all 3 of them. I went back into the Stray Cat twice.
I had no idea. I had no idea they were voted the best food truck in West Virginia, but it's right here on their menu.
First I've heard of it. It was very good.
That's pretty doggone good to be the best.
I could see why. Those things were awesome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You know what? I'll give them credit as well because you screwed up the first delivery of them.
Yeah, I never did hear from the girls.
And it's one of those, a lot of people, like, it wouldn't ever come back to fruition, right? It would never reconnect. They were immediately back with more. Mm-hmm. So very good. Check them out.
All right, let's do this thing.
Where's that in? Star City?
Yeah.
Right by that hot dog place down over the hill. You go down the hill.
That weird ass hot dog place that was built into the dirt.
Yeah.
Like, how'd they get that thing in there? It's like in a hill.
Yeah, it's a good question. But that's where they are.
It's like a root cellar.
Very good.
Check them out.
Do you see those desserts on there too?
Very good. Tasty. All right, here we go. Text line. Hey, 2 guys. I was preparing to watch episode 482 live on the YouTubes, and it got me to wondering. I cannot remember how this all started. So I went to episode 1 to re-listen, and I was amazed. First ever show. It started with Tony attacking Hoppy for cleaning his microphone. Then attacking Brad for taking Hoppy's side on that. After Tony mentioned Alan Taylor's podcast being an hour long, Hoppy remarked, I could never give anybody an hour. Well, guess he was wrong when he shows up anyway. Tony attacked Brad for his Will Greer Heisman comment, saying, paraphrasing, do you think they're going to talk on SportsCenter about Greer throwing for 416? He threw for 371, so he was close. Only thing that surprised me was that Tony did not attack Tech's Australian punter. Some things never change. I love what you guys do. Go Mountaineers, Jim Preston County. Yeah, that was so weird. When you go back to listen to the first one, I'd jumping all over Hoppy for putting alcohol on his microphone before we recorded, and that was all pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yeah.
Now you know what we've done for the last 6 years? We alcohol the microphones.
Wipe the whole thing down.
The whole thing goes down. Texter, 3 guys, hello. P1 listener from Austin, Texas. As a proud Doddridge County College and WVU alum, I've had the privilege to study and work abroad for a number of years. After listening to 3 of my favorite guys across 5 continents and dozens of countries, I wanted to check in. My favorite 3 guys story is from the year I spent teaching English in East Timor. I had a classroom of around 80 students, and on some days we would listen to 3 guys in order to practice our English and maybe learn some new vocabulary from Hoppy. This proved to be a fairly effective strategy because eventually several of those students wanted to start watching WVU basketball games, which started at 8 a.m. local time. So 3 guys is responsible for 20 students living about 10,000 miles away from West Virginia, knowing the names Jordan McCabe, Emmett Matthews, and Chase Harler, and the differences between a man-to-man defense and a zone. I appreciate everything the 3 guys has done in making anyone, anywhere feel like home with this podcast. Signed by Dylan from Doddridge.
That's a great one. Thanks, Dylan.
Did you look up East Timor?
No.
I think that was on Lion King. Check that out. Or that was one of the characters. Anyway, hey, Scopes and Spreads, I don't remember you mentioning the second biggest craft beer sensation in the state, Big Timber's Country Roads Trust Lager. 15% of sales go to the Country Roads Trust. Went to Elkins this weekend, grabbed a case to have tailgating for the season, along with some Kirchhoff. Signed by Not From Brian in Berkeley Springs.
Southeast Asia.
Excuse me?
Southeast Asia. It's on the southernmost edge of Indonesia, northwest of Australia.
That's awesome.
They're just teaching English.
That's all we're doing is helping America and everyone else in the world. Texter, in 2019, Austin Kendall.
An app, like isn't there a lot of apps that teach different languages?
Yeah.
Put 3 guys language learning edition out there.
Like that Babbel thing, I think.
Yeah, Babbel. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Think we can challenge Babbel?
You think we start our own 3 guys app?
I'll put it in episode800.com.
They're gonna have a heck of a time when they start going to their teacher. What's this word "blowed up" mean? 29 Cincinnati, is that the name of it? In 2019, Austin Kendall and Jarrett Deggy combined for about 2,800 pass yards, 19 touchdowns during a complete rebuild. If I said Green and Marchiol finished this season with those same numbers, your immediate thought about the season is what? Signed by the Bearded Ear.
Don't mean to avoid the question, Bearded Ear, but would like to see the rushing numbers and the interception numbers off of that. Then I'll answer that question.
It's fair.
Those on their surface would be fine. If it comes with like 4 interceptions is all.
Yeah, 5-to-1 ratio. Be splendid. Ralph in Charleston writes, Tony, this being a game week, I always look forward to you setting the scene. It's always right on. Is your ability part of your formal training? Do you have a checklist, weather, uniforms, expected crowd, importance of the game, etc.? Do you have to put a lot of time into it? Is it inspiration or does it just come to you naturally? Thank you. Keep up the work. Great work. Ralph in Charleston. I guess I could be completely honest. I never write those. I've been using Chat GPT for the last 20 years.
It's not true.
No. In all seriousness, sometimes they flow really super easy. They just go, out they come. And sometimes you kind of like, you have to sit and think. But in essence, what I'm trying to do is just trying to take it from like really far out. What's the big story of the game? And then you kind of factor in what's happening internally in your program and then what's happening externally to the other program, and then just kind of comes together.
I do think you're an underrated writer.
Thank you.
I don't think people would know that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because they hear you speak more than they read your writing. I think you're a really good writer.
I used to absolutely get sick when I had to write. Like in school, like if a teacher the first day said, okay, like in high school, this year we're going to have 3 8-page papers, like
you didn't like that.
Would get sick. Would literally like, God.
So what changed?
It was my kryptonite. I don't know what changed. Probably just stopped thinking like it was hard to do and just do it. Because I write broadcast. Broadcast is so much easier than like writing print. It's a whole different thing. For broadcast, you try to write for like an 8th grade level because I get too much in the weeds here. When you write for audio, for radio, for a sportscast, for something like that, the person that's listening only gets to hear it once. So it has to be extremely concise and short and to the point so that they're going to catch it half listening or full listening. When you read something that's written for print, a website, a newspaper, at any point while you're reading a story, you can always jump back up to see exactly, now, who was that? Brown said what? But you can always go jump back. And broadcast, it needs to be 12, 14-word sentences. West Virginia's football team leaves tomorrow for Penn State. The Mountaineers open the season Saturday night against the number 7 Nittany Lions. Head coach Neil Brown says offense will be the key in Saturday's game. Insert the soundbite. See what I'm saying? It's just like boop, boop, boop.
See, put that in our Babel killer. We're coming. What'd Dion say?
Hey,
we coming?
Yeah. Our app should be, we can teach you how to talk like a 5th grader.
Mm-hmm.
Texter, father of 3 kids here. This is Josh in Morgantown. I've got 3 kids, 3 and under. I'm trying to figure out how to watch Saturday's game. I've been invited to several friends' houses to watch the game, but I get the feeling from my wife, if I do that, I might need a place to crash that night. Do you guys all have a couch that I can crash on if I go that route? Sure, come on in. Separate football question. Do you think the players went to Coach Brown and said who they wanted to be the starting quarterback? And does Neil call Coach Soraka for game planning advice against Penn State, or is that pointless, given that no one DC or offensive coordinator is wise around when he was there? That's a good question. So he's talking about Coach Soraka that was at Penn State, was here, and then went to Minnesota after he was at Minnesota before he went to Penn State. Yeah, probably. If anything, right? He calls him and says, okay, tell me how Franklin thinks, right?
I thought you were going to say he calls him and says, you owe us one, since you walked over to Minnesota and then smacked us in the bowl. You owe us one, Kirk.
Solid point. Texter, couple of quick questions. I went 6-6 on the Sportsline prediction show. My toss-ups, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, as they can go either way. What do y'all think? Any updates on the 3 guys tailgate? Saw where WVU Athletics announced the Almost Heaven fan experience, signed by Jennings in the Kanawha Valley. Well, I would say this. In the 6 years of this podcast, we have noticed on several occasions that once we do start something, other people follow. And I guess that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So thank you very much. You think they heard about 3 Guys Food Court, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's no doubt. No doubt about that.
Yeah. How's that going, he asks.
Yeah, how's that going? We're still efforting. Because there's a lot of things logistically, as someone might have said before. A lot of people throw up things at you. There's a lot of hurdles. It's a lot of hurdles to do things, isn't there?
I'm not going to start.
I'm just saying there's a lot of hurdles. Sometimes when you run the race, you know there's 10 hurdles out there. Other times you start the race and you clear a couple hurdles, and then people keep throwing other hurdles in the back end.
Well, what's that one thing you and Hoppy always say?
Don't make it harder.
Don't make it harder. And I'm not saying a word because it's not over yet. Texter, Joe Mock in Texas, never misses an episode.
I tried to tell you, don't overpromise.
Well, I had no...
You don't listen. Done events before. A lot of times people make it harder. Events are hard. Can't go out on the limb too early.
All I'm saying is what we're trying to do is unbelievably benign. Considering what goes on in this city. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? That's all I'll say for now.
Efforting.
Anyway, Joe Mock in Texas, who never misses an episode. Congratulations on 6 years of awesome content, and your merch at episode800.com is fantastic. We love the shirt and the Mountaineer Morning Coffee that we bought recently. By the way, I am curious about Tony's high school acquaintance, Mark Mauve, mentioned in episode 480. When he became an adult, did folks give him the nickname Mauve Man? If so, I'm sure Tony, with his calming voice, stopped believing he exists. Thank you, Joe.
You think Mauve had its day?
I do. Had a great run. Hello from John. Mauve lasted long enough that if they had a color Hall of Fame, Mauve would be in.
You think?
Mauve
It
would
had
be
a
in.
long enough career?
I think
I think there might be some debate. Although once you've entered into, like, if people go, if your toilet comes in the color, you're probably in the Hall of Fame. There were mauve toilets at one point.
There was?
I think.
So, like, it depends on
Because
what...
there, like, used to be green toilets back in the old days.
It would also depend on this. Like, who is on the Mauve Hall of Fame selection committee? Because sometimes you can get, like, baseball, like, if the same people on the baseball Hall of Fame selection committee were on the color selection committee, Mauve would not get in.
So you think if mauve was difficult to interview, they wouldn't get in? Have to be friendly to the media in order to get in?
Those Hall of Famer voters in baseball, they're just the most... Just go away from me. But like there are some halls of fame, like they make some decisions. It could be, I'm not any kind of Hall of Fame. You kind of go like, how in the hell did that person get in the Hall of Fame? That must not be too hard, right? Some of them, and in some you go like, anyway. Texter, hello from John in the friendliest city in the United States of America, Kaiser. So I'd like to sit down with Hoppy and do a blind taste test with multiple beers, including Kirchhoff. Let me tell you why. I find the Kirchhoff very tasty. Of course, I'm a big Hoppy fan. I also find the Trust Lager very tasty. I'm a huge WV fan, and I also find DJ Freshie's Hefeweizen very tasty. This is a beer that my buddy at White Horse Brewery in Berlin, Pennsylvania brewed in my honor.
Oh, John's got his own beer.
Yeah, so obviously there's a psychological component to taste. I think it'd be fun to sit down with the aforementioned varieties along with some cold trail ale, maybe cougar bait and some halleck, and blindly pick our favorite. Love the show. Love my Mountaineers. Thanks for the years of entertainment. So that halleck, that's our Chestnut Brew Works that makes the hoppy Churchill Ale. Bill, a fantastic job.
Bill's been busy this fall. He's pumping some out, right?
Ha!
Can't keep it in.
Can't keep it in. It's in the hoppers right now.
Excellent.
No pun intended. Texter, gentlemen, just finished episode 482. With all due respect, the more Steve Jones rattled on, the more I felt like myself sinking into my seat, and my blue and gold glasses faded to a dim shade of gray. Still praying for a 2017 Neil Brown miracle, Troy over LSU. I love the show, fellers. Texter from Punta Gorda, Florida, formerly of Elkins, and then also formerly of Greenbank, West Virginia. Leonard and Lila. Congratulations, 6 successful years. We enjoy listening to your podcast and cheering for our Mountaineers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you listening down there in Punta Gorda. Mike from Salem checking in, possible new addition to the episode800.com, official sponsor of Textual Healing. All I will say is mauve foot socks shoes. Slogan, we'll all have a good run again.
That's pretty good.
Oh, boy. Morgan in Morgantown. Tony Brett.
Real name?
Huh?
Real name?
Probably not. Tony Brett, I think it's about time the NCAA self-imposes the death penalty. The Harbaugh thing was bizarre. But Arizona State self-imposing a one-year bowl ban? Give me a break. And someone tell Ray Anderson that the Sun Devils probably weren't going to play in a bowl game this year anyway. What a joke.
That's probably why they did it.
Should have done last
Reminiscent of Auburn giving itself an NCAA tournament ban on a year when they knew they weren't any good and weren't going to make the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm. Here's an oldie. Remember Rich from Indiana? Used to write all the time. Rich in Indianapolis.
He's been busy.
He's back.
Oh.
Rich from Indy here. Been a bit since my last text. Please accept my apologies. Last episode, a text was generated by a P1 listener named Ryan from Noblesville, Indiana. This piqued my interest because I actually don't live in Indianapolis, but I'm on the north side of the city in Westfield. Noblesville and Westfield are as close to down the holler as Indiana gets. This creates a perfect opportunity for Three Guys Magic to bring two more people together. Please let Ryan know. I would enjoy meeting him. I'm not terribly interested in running a 5K, but I do like Rice Krispie treats and golf a lot. Main reason for a lack of texts. Thanks. I love the show, but with all due respect, you need to stop disrespecting the original classic-sized Reese cup. The whole convenience store industry owes its existence to the ability to pop in and grab a 2-pack off the shelf. I mean, he makes a very solid point.
Well, a couple things. I certainly still love the original. I don't know that there's any disrespect going on, but it's just simply pointing out the ratio is better in the shapes.
To his point, though, those convenience stores wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for the old 2-cup Reese pack, the standard in the industry. Actually, I remember the onesies, just one. That's how it started. Then they went double. And then, like everything else, things get huge.
4.
I mean,
3
you used to be, growing up, you'd get yourself a, you remember the glass Coca-Cola bottles?
Yeah.
The little ones?
Yes.
Is that 12 ounces? It might have been 8 ounces or 12 ounces. Remember, that was a pop.
Yeah.
That was a pop. Like, we should do one of those things. Like, you know how they do those evolution things? Like, it starts with a gorilla and it goes, like, to a man. Why can't you do one of those with, like, pop bottles? Like, the history of our pop bottles. Like, the bottle was, like, this big. And then it got, like, we went 8 ounce, then we went to 16 ounces. And then they started, they made a
big
liter.
Gulp came in.
Big gulp comes in. And now, basically, it's a barrel that people go in and get a big piece of garden hose. They stick it down in the barrel and they siphon it into their head. Like, when did that all happen?
Everything got supersized.
Texter, sitting in Hilo, Hawaii. I'm on a cruise ship, listening to Three Guys. I sure hate going to be unable to watch the game. They're teaching a new guy to pilot a lifeboat down there. Sure hope he won't be our pilot if needed. Go Mountaineers. Oh, careful with that.
Enjoy the cruise.
Texter, hello. I'm 23 years old, and recently my dad has encouraged me to listen to Three Guys before the game during my commute to work. I've been listening to Tony call West Virginia games since I was a toddler, and I hadn't seen Brad since we talked at the 2018 West Virginia State baseball tournament. I mentioned to my dad how much older Brad looks now with his white beard.
Thank you.
He replied with, yeah, and Tony looks really good for being in his 70s.
True, I agree with that.
I thought to myself, there's no way Tony's in his 70s. After I did some research, I found out that Tony turns 61 on 8 of September. My dad turns 50 on the 11th. I thought you would both get a kick out of this. You both still look great. I love the show. Go Mountaineers.
How'd you get in there and change the internet to say 61? That was well done by you. You teach me how to do that? That's a good job. I thought you were going to be 73 on September 8th.
Boy. Texter, Scopes, sabbatical hoppy and spreads. I'm scrolling Facebook this morning. Came across a very interesting site.
Oh, here we go.
Someone has made it down to Point Pleasant and made an offering to the Mothman. Timing-wise, this could not have come better, knowing the world champion Mountaineers are set to do battle with the Nittanies on Saturday. Now the question is, who was it? Was Hoppy's sabbatical a cover to sneak down there and make peace with the cryptid legend after Scopes drug him through the mud? Or is Neil Brown efforting a big season for the old gold and blue? Either way, I think it's a gesture in bringing good fortune to all Mountaineers this year. Wherever you may be, signed a coal miner's kid from Morgantown by way of Wheeling. So you see there it is in Point Pleasant, and they got a big Reese cup.
Yeah.
Got a Mountain Dew, probably.
Yeah, it appears that way.
Mountain Dew and some other stuff. So someone made a love offering to the Mothman.
I like the thought.
That's a neat clock in that town there. Look at that old school
nice.
clock.
Yeah, it is nice.
Thank you very much. Scared no Mothman. Texter, I love the Week 1 preview. Great insight from the voice of Nittany Lions. As a side, what exactly is a Nittany? In your opinion, what defines success this weekend? Are we satisfied with staying close for 3 quarters, or is nothing short of a victory a successful trip? The Nittany things, that's apparently it's a Native American term. Some say Mount Nittany, it stands for like one mountain. Some say it does, it was a female Native American historically. I don't know exactly what it is. Anyway, you can answer the other part. What defines success to you this weekend?
Well, everybody always yells at me when I say this because I get this program was not built on moral victories. But if you go in here and play with them, I think that bodes well for the rest of the season. I think that trying to be realistic about this. Listen, you walk in and win this game, biggest regular season win in school's history.
Yes.
Agree?
Statistically, yes.
Yeah, so that's a massive win, obviously. So I think if you can go in and play with them and walk out with some confidence and move that forward, that's what you're looking to do.
Steve and Pat Wilson in Tornado, West Virginia. The Mountaineers are repping in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Look at that. They went in there, Steamboat Springs, put the Mountaineer flag on top of that thing.
I like it.
Steve and Pat are the folks that grow San Marzanos. And in past episodes, they sent us pictures long time ago. Good to hear from you guys. Stay well. Texter, just my opinion. Penn State's good, but they're full of themselves. NBC treating this game like a national championship. We're expected to do nothing. This feels like Oklahoma 82. Oklahoma was another NFL team, they said, and we went to their place, lined up, whipped them, and made them like it. If our line plays like they can play, I believe we can run the ball, have a chance to win at the end. I also think with the new clock running first downs, it'll shorten it, some which will help us with ball control. Go Mountaineers. Signed by the East Bank guy. There you go. Texter, writing in to provide a much-needed rebuttal to why we should stop playing 2 power conference teams a year out of the conference. He asks, what's the most important number in college football right now? Wins is up there, yes, but viewers takes the cake. Playing these high-profile games earlier in the year while the rest of the country plays cupcakes gives smaller market teams like ours a chance to get much-needed exposure. This year, the Penn State and Pitt games will likely average around 5 million viewers. Last year, Pitt did 3 million. Virginia Tech did 1.5. Those were our most watched games. Is playing a 2-for-1 against an ECU or Ohio really more beneficial to the program as a whole in the current landscape? Keep in mind, group of 5 opponents are far from automatic wins, as we well know. Lastly, where is this program today without that Virginia Tech series? Much worse off, I would say.
Bunch of good points. Yeah, that was important to building of the brand, but I'll say this, CTCU from last year. Played nobody in the non-conference, right? Got all the way to a national championship game. If you're going to play those games, I agree there's more eyeballs on you. You got to win those games. And playing these is more difficult to win the games. Got to get wins. Here's something that was encouraging. You know how I've been complaining about college football and not recognizing strength of schedule and not making it part of it, encouraging teams to dumb down the schedule?
Yeah.
This story with Florida playing on Thursday night, the night we're recording this, so you may be listening to this after the games happen. Florida's going to Utah, Big 12 member Utah. I'm sure they'll have no idea what time the kickoff is when they head out there. So they're playing at Utah. First time since 1991 that they're on the road out of the state of Florida for a non-conference game. Can that be correct?
It's correct.
Went to Syracuse and got beat.
Spurrier was the coach.
Tony, 91? That's 32 years Florida hasn't left the state for a non-conference game. Are you kidding me?
Very smart. Very smart.
Their AD, Scott Strickland, said, here's the deal. That's intentional. Hopes when this playoff field expands to 12, which is coming, right? That he hopes strength of schedule starts to become a component and you're not penalized for playing in games like that. Mm-hmm. That's an important statement from an SEC AD that's thinking that direction. I think that's for the good of the sport if that comes to fruition and it moves that way, because it is not that way now. But I thought that was an interesting quote to go with a ridiculous stat that Florida hasn't left its state. 32 years?
They got beat. They said, heck with this, we're not leaving Florida anymore. Texter, hey, three guys, very excited for this season. Just got my tickets. I'll be making my way to State College for the opener. Wondering if you guys recommend anything in the area, particularly food recommendations, Tony. I'm very sorry, I do not. I don't. We're staying about over an hour away, so I haven't even focused in on State College food situation. Texter, I got a couple of week one over-unders. Over-under 15.5 carries for C.J. Donaldson.
It's a good one. Chad Scott used that exact number. He said 15. Want to get him 15-plus touches.
Over-under. What is it?
Over.
Over-under 13.5 total touches by the other running backs. Anderson, Johnson, and Heisman frontrunner Jaheim White.
Over, because you've got to get over 30 carries.
Love the show. Let's go shock the world. Signed by Troy in Long Island. Texter, Adam and Beckley. Growing up, we always called the Rice Krispie treats with butterscotch and chocolate Scotcheroos.
Good name.
They were a staple at birthday parties in Boone County back in the day. My wife and mom still make them regularly, and I consume them in mass quantities. Love the show. Go Mountaineers. I'm actually having one of those bad boys with lunch today.
There it is.
There you got the little baggie with it, too.
A little scotcheroo. I like that.
And he went with a good seal on that bag, right? Ziploc, in order not to get any air in there and make that thing. Because you get more.
Ruins it with air.
If you get air on those Rice Krispies, it's all of a sudden you're eating some like.
In fact, that's why you got to zip it like 98% of the way and then squeeze the remaining air out, then seal it in.
Yeah. I mean, I might even recommend him getting a vacuum sealer. Put those on those.
Be fine, too.
You got vacuum sealer?
Don't. You used to have it for luggage. You ever do that with the luggage? That was big for a while.
Yeah, that
works.
Oh, yeah, it works. Now, that might wrinkle your clothes a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. Got an iron in the room wherever you're going.
I vacuum seal a lot of stuff.
Food-wise?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Texter, hi, two guys in an empty chair. We didn't even bring the chair over today.
Nah.
We just left it over there.
Yeah, not coming in.
I was thinking, with realignment uncertainty hovering over the sport, it's time for Mountaineer Nation to come together and appreciate being on NBC, appreciate the chance to play a full Power 5 schedule, appreciate the chance to prove people wrong. Folks in Corvallis and Pullman would die to have the certainty we have, and instead of worrying about wins and losses, let's all just enjoy the year. I'm excited, ready for the Fighting Neil Browns to be back and hopefully take a step forward. I love the show, signed by Benny in the Bay Area, parentheses, this is my real name.
Thanks, Benny.
Let me give you a couple other real names. Burdette Camping Center. That's a real name. They've been one of our founding sponsors as we celebrate our 6-year anniversary. Check them out at BurdettCamping.com. Everything they sell, the warranty lasts forever. And right now, $3,000 under the invoice on all their 2022 fifth wheels. Do that. And by Comax Business Systems. Those are the folks that do everything for you when it comes to your business data, remote monitoring, IT services, phone systems. If you're a business owner, you need help from one line to 1,000, they got you. Just call free estimate. Tell you what they can do. Jake from Wirt writes, guys, any connection to Penn State's monster defense and the lack of Big Ten offense? With all due respect to Maryland, Rutgers, and Northwestern, they just don't scream good offense to me. What do you think? Always. Let's go Mountaineers. I'm not taking anything away from the Lions.
They got some dudes.
They got dudes.
Although their schedule this year, Delaware, Illinois, Elam is a little better there.
Yeah.
Iowa.
The way you said Delaware.
Northwestern, UMass, Indiana. They're going to have trouble with Indiana. You know, Tom Allen said he's named his kicker, but he's not releasing that. Then Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State.
That's pretty good. I like that. Texter, hey, Brad, Tony, Hoppy, help me understand. How does the ACC benefit by adding any more marginal programs? Other than some short-term money growth, I don't see the value of Calford and SMU and no additional value to the conference. From purely a financial perspective, after travel and logistical costs, what am I missing? Joel in Atlanta, who's an alum. Yeah, I mean, if this thing happens with Cal and Stanford and SMU to the ACC, it would be the absolute top of the mountain of the stupidity and the craziness that we've entered in. I mean, to be quite honest with you, it would be, in my opinion, strictly my opinion, it would be a major slap into what the ACC perceives itself to be. Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
What I mean is this. For years, they were the ACC. We are the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Come hither, and we will have our folks talk with you, and we will wear sport coats. Our young men will wear sport coats with pastel colors, straw hats, and our young ladies will wear sundresses, and they'll attend our football contests on Saturdays that begin promptly at 1 p.m. We're the ACC. Well, you're going to go get SMU? You're going to go get Cal? You're going to go get Stanford? It would be, like I said, it would be the pinnacle of the bizarre moves that have been made. As if not having Arizona and Arizona State and Utah in your conference isn't absolutely crazy, but this would be the ultimate. Texter, JD in Morgantown, stats got a number for you. I heard Penn State was one of the worst in the country defending the scramble, giving up an average of 8 yards per play. My take is that it's safe to say that every time any of our QBs scramble, we'll gain at least 8 yards. What's your take, and what's your over-under inquiring minds want to know, mean and me?
That'd be great if they got over 8 yards per scramble. I would take that.
Yeah.
Trying to see if I could find something here while we're...
I'm going to imagine you're going to go under on that, 7.8.
As an average, probably.
Yeah.
But you said it in our earlier segment. Hopefully take off for a couple big ones. Garrett was credited with just over 6 yards per scramble attempt last year. Just over 6.
Okay. Texter, 3 guys, Morgan in Morgantown. Check out Ray Anderson's latest podcast about the self-imposed bowl ban. Definitely worth a listen. See there? There you go. Texter, heading up to Happy Valley. Best feeling if we beat Penn State might be hearing the reaction from all the naysayers. Spreads told me not too long ago it's easy to get on the hating bandwagon. Second best feeling would be getting to say, thanks for having us to the Penn State fans, where we are staying this weekend.
Be an all-timer. That'd be an all-timer. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you know what?
Do it.
It's a T-shirt. If it happens, it's a T-shirt. Be available at episode800.com on Monday. Thanks for having us. Texter, back in April, I wrote you guys about some life advice. I told you that my wife was having a baby just days before the Penn State game, and I was in a dilemma if I should go to the game or stay home with my family. Hoppy and Brad, without hesitation, told me to stay home. However, Tony made some great points and made the case for me to go to the game if I had help from my mother-in-law. Luckily, my mother-in-law and wife saw the video and gave me the go-ahead to attend Saturday. Well, guess what? Baby Matthew was born on August the 18th, and I'm looking forward to taking the family to many Mountaineer games in the years ahead, signed by John in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Oh, there you go, man. How about that? Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Great
so now
picture.
he's got 2.
He got 2 little ones.
He got 2 little ones. So that means he and the wife are on their last opportunity here to play man defense, because when the third one comes, they got zone up. Everyone's just going to get an area of the family room to defend, because right now they can man them up. Congratulations, John, and congratulations to your wife, because you actually did none of the work, and that's awesome. How cute.
Enjoy the game.
Yeah.
But also remember, goes fast.
Whew.
The babies go fast.
Yes, they do.
Do they not?
Oh, man.
Just remember that, John.
Yeah, don't miss. Yeah, I'll give you a game Saturday. Other than that, stick around the house. Texter, this Mothman decal was spotted on a laptop computer at Wheeling Hospital. Oh, boy. Let's Go Mountaineers, signed by John S. Marshall.
Is there a picture of that? I'm not going to look.
Yeah, it says Mothman on a license plate.
Not looking.
Texter, had a dream last night, must be shared. Starting quarterback debate was settled when, after a touchback, the offense rolled out with Garrett and Nico flanking CJ, who took a direct snap, went 75 untouched as the bewildered Penn State defense didn't know how to react. Excited for my first state college experience. Let's go Mountaineers. Texter, congratulations on 6 years, guys. I hope you're following Tony's idea of the 8 to 10 years of career eligibility and that there will be many more. And seriously, thank you for giving my dad and I something to continually look forward to. Thank you very, very much. Texter Brad, I know we're all anticipating the big game Saturday, but I wanted to give a shout to Tyson Bagent, who was just named the Bears' backup. Well-deserved. Hope he does well in the big league. Signed by Kathy in Washington, West Virginia. Yeah, we talked about that this week on Sportline, and that's one of the all-time great stories of all time.
Incredible story.
I tell you, my favorite part is when he signed at Shepherd. He said, "I'm going to be in the NFL," and said, "Save the tape." It's not like he didn't say it. He looked at the cameras and said, "Save the tape."
That's great.
Texter, Tony, you don't have to read this because no one will know what I'm talking about. But of all your impressions, Dale Miller is the best. I haven't seen him in 30 years, but I can totally hear his voice like I'm back at Hawley Field on a baseball road trip all those years ago. So Dale, our former president here, was also unbelievable general manager, coach of the American Legion team. It was pimped out. I mean, those guys traveled like the Yankees. They dressed like the Yankees. They wanted nothing.
Walk-up music before it was a thing.
Walk-up music. I mean, light years. It was big boy. Anyway, he says, on one of your summer episodes, all three guys were talking about a Dale memory. I remember one game we're at Hawley Field before there were lights. We're playing Garrett County, Maryland. It's starting to get dark to the point it's getting hard to see. One of our batters hits a deep shot right down the right field line over the fence, but there's no way anyone would know if the ball was fair or foul. But Dale comes charging out of the dugout, loudly exclaiming something like, "That's the game! That's the game!" and giving the umpire absolutely no chance to do anything other than call it a home run, which ended the game in a walk-off fashion.
Excellent.
It was also fun when all of our players were trying to get clues from Dale to figure out where he hid the prize during the treasure hunt contest, enclosed as a team photo. So there they are.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. So Dale and radio station WAJR and WVAQ, for that matter, here locally, they used to do this game every year on the radio called Treasure Hunt. And Dale would create these clues. And these clues would be posted at convenience stores and places all over the area. And I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, it might be thousands of people would try to find that treasure. And if you found the treasure, you'd win a car. You'd win a car.
So it's big boy prize.
Yeah, you'd win a car. And here's what would happen. Like after 3, 4, 5 weeks, people would come to the radio station and they would say, "I found the treasure." And like people would like create fake, like, "You have won the 1984 WAJR treasure hunt." And they like go, "Well, that's not it." I mean, it was bizarre, crazy. Texter, plural guys, not sure what the number is today. First time texter. It would be more had you read mine before. I hope I make the cut this time. Anyway, my daughter's on the camera crew for WVU football practice. It might be interesting if you had the coordinator on to go over what they do and how that film is used. I've tried to get inside the practice info from her. She won't give up anything. The best she would do is send me this picture. Signed by Wayne in Clarksburg. Yeah, so
Good job by her. She knows the deal.
So that's me to the right there.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to Drew, the general manager, and she was behind. She's in the end zone there. Did not know I was being photographed there. Did not know my picture was being made. Yeah. Texter, dear three guys, here's a little poem I wrote about Saturday. In Morgantown's embrace, the cheers arise as WVU and Penn State meet again with eager eyes. College football's fervor, a rivalry reborn, in the clash of blue and gold, new memories are sworn. Mountaineers stand tall, their pride runs deep against the Nittany Lions, promises to keep on the gridiron they dance with skill and might underneath the stadium's electric nightlight. So here's to the Mountaineers and the Lions so proud in this gridiron battle where the crowd roars loud. May this rivalry thrive in tradition's name as WVU and Penn State play their storied game. It's pretty good.
Good job, Vinny.
Good job, Vinner. Good job, Vinner. Professor Vinny in Chicago. ChatGPT also, you could write some serious poems now. You could put some info in there.
You're not saying Vinny did that, though, of course.
No, he's a professor.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get 10-year or 8-year if they caught him cheating. JD from the Southern Coalfields writes, College football seems to be on a trajectory of consolidation that results in an essentially a professional league at the highest level with anywhere from 30 to 40 teams. I see the Mountaineers as very clearly being on the cut line of making the top league or being in a second rung. Speaking only as a fan, where would each of you prefer to see the Mountaineers end up should this scenario arise? Personally, I don't care about money or prestige. I just don't want to be rooting for a team that is only competitive once a decade, which would most likely be the case if WVU were to find themselves in the Pro League. I'd much rather see them competing for championships at the second level nearly every year. Just my opinion as a fan for over 30 years. I'm interested in your thoughts, JD. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be in the second rung. You're a top 25 all-time win program. I wouldn't like the alternative. Be quite honest with you. I'd like to be competitive more than once a decade in the upper division, in the upper league. But Stuart Mandel wrote a big piece on that. He thinks that's what the thing's going to.
I think it's hard to see it going anywhere else.
He thinks it's
in the current climate.
He thinks it's 24 teams.
That's a lot of people do.
And he thinks that could happen in 2030, 32, 33. Texter. Hello.
Which I don't see how that works. I don't think long-term that works for people.
Yeah. Kara from Parsons, happy anniversary, three guys. Thank you for 6 years of great interviews, entertainment, and laughs. This is the best WVU sports, food, boar hunting, beer, tax accounting shaming, LSU corruption podcast out there. Here's to the next 6 years of this stupid podcast. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kara. Won't be 6 more years.
I spoke yesterday, or as part of a speaking thing at the West Virginia Business Summit. A lot of accountants in the audience there.
They heckle you?
I just like when I walked out, I just kept head down, just got out of there.
They didn't throw things at you?
No, I was worried someone was going to come and accost me. Texter, good game week. While expectations for this year's squad happen to be low, what I hope for the team is to get beat, not lose. Let me explain. When Mike Vick juked Grant Wiley on the sideline and Shane Graham hit a game winner, the Mountaineers played great and got beat. That wasn't Grant Wiley.
Mm-mm.
I cheered for the guys when they left the field because they played their butts off. Last year, when an untimely penalty cost the Mountaineers in Kansas, they lost the game. Nothing to cheer for there. So I can cheer for a team that gets beat. I can't tolerate losing. And I hate losing more than I love winning. Chris, the Mullins Rebel from Marietta. Yeah, that wasn't Grant. I can remember. It was the end. Anyway, forget it. Vic, that was a great play. He pretended he was going out of bounds. He turned it up.
On the far sideline across the press box.
And the player who let him go didn't want to get called on a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
And so he let him go.
Right.
Congratulations on 6 years. I don't think you all know how much you are loved and appreciated. I get heart palpitations every time you say there will be no 800th episode. Keep it going. Signed by Pete in the Panhandle.
Thank you, Pete. There won't be.
There won't be. Flitter with your heart. I looked it up today. Beatles were together 10 years.
Is that what it was?
Yep. We won't be as long as the Beatles. Scope Senator and the artist formerly known as Hoppy, happy 6th. On this day in 2017, that I gave you three clowns 18 minutes of my life. And I'm glad I did. It's been a fun ride. It's been an honor to meet all of you and become friends. Thanks for everything. And keep going to 800. By the way, I miss Hoppy. Maybe it's time you all put his face on a milk carton. Maybe someone will recognize him and tell him it's time to come on home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennings.
Texter, hello. Are you clowns going to get Dino and I hooked up for the big beer run, or is Dino going to have to contact a bagman from Oak State for some ransom? SEC school to hook us up. Deliver Kercheval. By the way, this is Rusty. Okay, so Rusty, let's do this thing. We can get this beer down for that UCF game. All right? Let's do it. Text me, Rusty. Send a text to the text line. I'll hook you up with Dino. You guys can coordinate beer. Pete from Pennsboro. I wanted to wish you three beacons of sports news integrity, a happy 6-year podiversary. We've been through a lot. I went back and looked to see what was happening in the world 6 years ago today. Pretty much all bad news as usual, including the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. If Hoppy ever joins a senior professional boxing league, I assume that would be his nickname, Hurricane Harvey. And lastly, I was curious if Brad had the stats available to tell us how West Virginia's offensive line ranks among the Big 12 by PFF grades. You just shut your microphone off, too.
But why do you keep shutting that off? Last year, they were dead middle of the pack in pass blocking efficiency. 5th out of 10. A little bit higher in the run blocking stats.
All right. So that'll do it. 6 years and moving ahead. Thanks for being with us on this one. We will, obviously, we'll go into our recap preview mode from here on in. So sometime this Labor Day weekend, we'll have our recap of the Penn State game. That could be.
Just stop. Just say what you said sometime this Labor Day weekend and move on. You don't need to go into more detail. You don't need to overpromise something that hasn't been discussed. You don't need to give wrong information. Just say you just did it perfectly. Sometime this Labor Day weekend. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This is episode 483.
Is Sunday part of Labor Day weekend?
Yeah. So is Monday.
All right, we're out. 3 Guys Before the Game brought to us by the Burdette Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in the state of West Virginia. Don't forget, $3,000 under invoice on all other 2022 fifth wheels and plus $10,000 off that travel trailer. So go to Burdette Camping. 3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems. If you're a business owner, by all means, why don't you help them out with their Make-A-Wish golf tournament coming up 3rd week of September. $150 hole sponsorships available, and all the money goes to a 10-county area there. They're going to make about $25,000 that day. So if you can help them, just visit the Comax website at comaxwv.com. 3 Guys brought to us by the unbelievable folks at Gomart. You don't think Mountaineer fans are going to be gassing up at Gomart as they get ready to make the trek into State College this weekend?
I think the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Into State College,
Sure.
and then 3 straight home games coming.
Visit Gomart and check out their fine selection of all the unleadeds. I mean, they got some unbelievable 88, 93, ethanol, whatever you need. Check it out. Plus the Slim Jims, candies, beverages. Get your Gomart card. You can save money on your food,
Coffee.
and coffee. Get yourself a big coffee. And Gomart.com to get your card. Fuel, money, savings. 3 Guys also brought to us by Comax, as I said, and by the fine folks at Lou Wendell Marine Sales, premier pontoon boat dealer in our state. They voted them the best, which is nice. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com, and a special thank you to our producer, Lucky Luke Rousey. He'll be busy this weekend. I mean, he likes to put up 50 cents or $1 down on a contest. And,
Big weekend. Football.
Big
Here we
weekend
start
for him.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
Monday, college games.
So
By
he's
the way, don't forget to go to episode800.com.
Oh, yeah. He's either going to be Lucky Luke Rousey or Lousy Luke Rousey come Monday. Because
He'll be good. He's
you
very,
think he's going to win?
very responsible with it, and I
Well,
think
yeah,
he'll
he
win.
does like 50 cents a dollar.
Yeah, he's responsible.
Yeah, visit episode800.com for all of our merchandise, coffee, and stuff. We're out. 3 Guys Before the Game. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you.